There are moments in life that feel less like choices and more like divine invitations, moments where you sense a calling so profound it leaves you feeling utterly humbled, perhaps even completely out of your element. Imagine standing on the threshold of portraying the most sacred figure ever to walk the earth, Jesus Christ himself. It's a role unlike any other, one that transcends mere acting and enters a realm of spiritual stewardship. The lights, the cameras, the meticulously crafted scenes designed to bring miracles to life. These are what the world sees. But beneath the surface, there lies an unseen weight, a spiritual gravity carried by the one chosen to embody the Son of God on screen. This isn't just about reciting lines. It's about handling holy words, words spoken by the holiest of holies. A feeling can surface, insistent and sharp. I shouldn't be doing this. This feels wrong. Not wrong in the sense of disobedience, but wrong in the sense of profound unworthiness, like standing barefoot on holy ground, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the presence you're asked to represent. This journey of portraying Jesus invites immense pressure, deep reverence, and for the actor Jonathan Roumie, it became an encounter far more intense and transformative than anything he could have anticipated. Millions have been moved watching The Chosen, touched by the raw, human, yet divine portrayal. But behind that moving performance, a quiet, intense spiritual reality unfolded. It began subtly, a whisper of doubt mixed with awe. Standing before cameras, ready to deliver words that changed the world, a sense of panic could unexpectedly bloom. Sharp pains, heart palpitations, physical manifestations of an overwhelming spiritual weight. Was it anxiety? Perhaps, but it felt deeper, intrinsically linked to the sacredness of the role itself. These words, the heart cries out, are holy. Am I worthy to even utter them? It's a moment of intense vulnerability, a recognition of the infinite distance between the human vessel and the divine message. This feeling intensified during pivotal moments, like the preparation for the iconic Sermon on the Mount. Hundreds of souls standing in expectant silence, cameras poised to capture eternity. And at the center, the actor tasked with embodying love incarnate. The pressure mounted, not just as performance anxiety, but as a spiritual trembling. The thought arises, what am I doing here? I shouldn't be the one. It's a surrender, a desperate prayer whisper in the heart. God, if this is truly your will, if I am where I'm meant to be, you must help me. I cannot do this alone. I've tried, but I surrender it all to you now. Take the reins. This complete and utter surrender, this emptying of self, becomes a very foundation upon which the portrayal is built. It's an acknowledgement that the only way to represent divinity is to allow divinity to work through you, imperfections and all. It's a profound act of trust, believing that God has placed you there for a reason, even when you feel profoundly inadequate. It's in the spirit of shared journey and divine connection that we want to extend a special invitation to you, our cherished viewers. We see your comments, we feel your presence, and we want to share a special moment of acknowledgement with those who are walking this path of faith alongside us. We'll be sending a special message, a little ray of light, to some of those who comment below. If you'd like a chance to appear in our next video, to have your name and city shared with thousands as part of our growing family, and receive that special message, please take a moment to comment with your name and your city. And don't forget to leave a like to spread the light. Imagine seeing your name, a little moment of connection, shared with so many others seeking inspiration. It's our small way of saying thank you for being part of this beautiful mission, this profound weight. This deep sense of awe and unworthiness before the sacred task was truly only the beginning of an extraordinary spiritual journey. The initial feelings of humility and the need for complete surrender laid the groundwork, but the path ahead held trials and confirmations that would test and ultimately deepen that faith in ways no one could have predicted. The spiritual reality of walking so closely with portrayal of Christ was about to manifest tangibly, starting with moments that seemed to physically challenge the very delivery of his holy words. That profound sense of awe and sacred weight described earlier wasn't merely an internal feeling. It began to manifest in tangible, sometimes startling ways. The spiritual reality interwoven with portraying Christ started to ripple outwards, creating moments of intense, unexpected trial. It became clear that walking this path meant encountering a spiritual dimension that demanded more than just emotional resilience. It required a deep, unwavering faith tested in crucible. One of the most significant early encounters with this reality unfolded during the filming of a monumental moment, the Sermon on the Mount. Imagine the scene: a vast hillside, hundreds of extras hushed in reverent silence, cameras ready to capture the timeless words that would echo through generations. Jonathan Roumie stood at the heart of it all, ready to deliver beatitudes, words brimming with divine grace and transformative power. And then, without warning, it struck. Not stage fright, but something distinctly different. A sharp, piercing pain shot through his ear, inexplicable and sudden. His heart began to race, pounding erratically against his ribs. His hands trembled, and a suffocating feeling stole his breath. There was no fever, no logical medical explanation, just a sudden, overwhelming wave of physical and emotional intensity. It felt, in that moment, like a force actively resisting the very words he was about to speak, the life-giving truths of the kingdom. Was it panic? Was it the sheer energetic weight of channeling such profound words? Or was it something more, a spiritual friction, an unseen pressure pushing back against the light? The lines blurred, but the feeling was undeniable. This was more than just nerves. It felt like stepping into a spiritual current, powerful and overwhelming. In that critical moment, feeling the surge cresting, he knew he couldn't simply push through. With humility and courage, he signaled to the director, Dallas Jenkins. "Can we just hold? Can we just slow down a second?" he asked, his voice perhaps trembling slightly. Taking the director aside, he shared his vulnerability, the raw truth of his experience. "Listen, man, I'm having a hard time right now. I'm saying these words and hearing myself say them. I don't feel worthy." It wasn't just the physical symptoms. It was a profound spiritual way of the moment, the feeling of inadequacy crashing against the holiness of the message. This wasn't complaint, but a confession born of reverence, an acknowledgement that the power flowing through him felt almost too immense to bear. It was a moment of intense spiritual honesty, revealing the depth of his desire to honor the sacredness of the role, even amidst personal struggle. This experience wasn't an isolated one. A pattern began to emerge. These intense physical and spiritual reactions often surface during the filming of emotionally charged scenes, moments involving divine forgiveness, overwhelming grace, or the depiction of Christ's miracles. It seemed the more potent the spiritual truth being conveyed, the more palpable the resistance or the internal reaction became. It was as if the very act of channeling these powerful messages created a spiritual resonance that reverberated through the actor himself, testing his vessel, pushing him towards a deeper reliance on God. These weren't moments of weakness to be hidden, but invitations to lean more heavily on divine strength, to acknowledge the reality of the spiritual dimension intersecting with the physical world. Each trial became, in essence, a step further into faith, not away from it. This powerful encounter during the Sermon on the Mount served as a profound awakening to the spiritual realities intrinsically linked to this sacred role. It highlighted a clear pattern. The more significant the divine message being shared, the more tangible the spiritual intensity surrounding its delivery. But this trial, intense as it was far from the end of the challenges. As the journey continued, pressing forward towards enacting other deeply sacred moments in Christ's life, the necessity for unwavering prayer and dedicated spiritual support would soon become luminously clear, demanding an even deeper level of surrender and trust. The growing awareness that these intense experiences were interwoven with the spiritual fabric of the mission prompted a crucial shift. It became increasingly clear that navigating the sacred territory required more than personal willpower or acting technique. It demanded active reliance on divine assistance and the supportive strength of prayer. The journey pressed onward, leading towards another moment steeped in profound holiness, the Last Supper. As preparations began for filming these deeply intimate and pivotal scenes, the atmosphere was charged with reverence. The weight of depicting Christ's final meal with his disciples, the institution of the Eucharist, was palpable. It was within the sacred space that the spiritual intensity would once again make itself known, but this time, the response would mark a significant turning point. Subtly at first, then with growing insistence, the familiar sensations returned. A strange tightness began to constrict the chest, and the sharp, inexplicable pain reappeared in the ear. Symptoms baffling doctors, yet undeniably real to the one experiencing them. A growing sense of unease, a feeling of invisible pressure mounting, began to take hold. Soon, the heart hammered wildly, a frantic rhythm that stole breath and ushered in a wave of panic. We were filming The Last Supper over 2 weeks, a period of intense focus and spiritual significance. Recognizing the familiar pattern, but this time armed with a deeper understanding from past experiences, Jonathan didn't just endure it. In a moment of humble vulnerability and trust, he reached for his lifeline. He sent a simple, urgent text message to his spiritual director, who was present nearby. "Please pray. Something's wrong." This act, simple yet profound, represented a conscious choice to engage the spiritual battle with spiritual tools. It was an admission of need, a turning toward the sanctuary of prayer in the midst of the storm. The response was immediate and faith-filled. His spiritual director, already sensing the need, replied he was in the midst of praying the rosary for him right at that moment. And then, something truly remarkable happened. Within minutes, a mere 15 minutes, the suffocating tightness in his chest eased. The racing heartbeat slowed to a steady rhythm. The inexplicable pain subsided, and the overwhelming fear lifted like a fog dispersed by sunlight. A tangible peace settled where panic had reigned. Everything went away, and all was fine. This experience provided powerful, undeniable clarity. It transcended the ambiguity of anxiety or stress. This rapid, prayer-induced shift confirmed the spiritual nature of the struggle. It wasn't merely about managing nerves or the pressure of performance. It was about navigating a genuine spiritual reality, sometimes referred to as spiritual warfare. Jonathan reflected on the nature of these encounters, acknowledging the various ways spiritual challenges might manifest. Perhaps sometimes as physical anxiety, sometimes as immense pressure not to ruin it for Jesus, but undeniably, sometimes as direct spiritual resistance. The key wasn't necessarily to definitively label every instance, but to recognize the effectiveness of a spiritual response. Prayer, specifically invoking the intercession of the Blessed Mother through the Rosary in this instance, proved to be potent spiritual armor, a source of immediate and tangible grace. This powerful experience during the Last Supper filming brought crystal clarity. The path required not just passive faith, but active spiritual engagement and unwavering reliance on prayer as a source of strength and protection. Recognizing this unseen dimension wasn't an endpoint filled with fear, but rather a vital catalyst. It sparked a profound shift, prompting a deliberate and conscious deepening of spiritual practices that would soon begin to permeate every aspect of life, transforming the approach not just to the role, but to the very core of the spiritual walk, both on and off the demanding set. The clarity gained from those intense spiritual encounters during pivotal scenes like the Last Supper wasn't just a momentary realization. It became a foundational stone upon which a deeper spiritual life was consciously built. Recognizing the reality of the spiritual dimension and the profound effectiveness of prayer wasn't a cause for fear, but an invitation to draw nearer to the source of all strength and grace. This led to a deliberate, wholehearted effort to weave spiritual disciplines more deeply into the fabric of daily existence, transforming not just the approach to the role, but the very posture of the soul towards God. It was a turning point from merely portraying Jesus to actively pursuing a life lived in closer communion with Him. This wasn't about adding religious obligations. It was about embracing lifelines of grace. Prayer became an even more central pillar. Not just recited words, but heartfelt conversations, periods of quiet listening, and the anchoring rhythm of devotions like the Rosary, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Angelus. Fasting was incorporated, not as mere deprivation, but as a way to discipline the body and sharpen the spirit's focus. The sacrament of confession became a regular source of healing and renewal, washing away failings and restoring grace. Consistent spiritual direction provided wisdom, accountability, and discernment on this increasingly intense path. These practices became less like duties and more like essential tools for staying grounded, connected, and open to the movements of the Holy Spirit. The profound weight of the role began to permeate Jonathan Roumie's personal life, not as a burden, but as a catalyst drawing him into an ever-deepening intimacy with the Lord he was portraying. He wasn't just acting, he was being transformed. Friends and colleagues noticed a change over the years, remarking on a palpable growth in his closeness to Christ, a spiritual attunement that hadn't been as evident before. This journey involved moments of overwhelming emotion, sometimes tears flowing seemingly without reason, as the sheer power and love contained within the words of Jesus resonated deeply within his own spirit, breaking down barriers and softening the heart. These weren't signs of instability, but rather indications of a soul becoming more sensitive and receptive to divine presence, a vessel being hollowed out to make more room for the light to shine through. It was a paradox of surrender. In acknowledging weakness and dependence, true strength was found. In emptying oneself, one could be filled with something far greater. This journey of deepening faith reminds us that God's blessings flow abundantly when we open our hearts to Him, seeking His presence and grace in our daily lives. It's a path available to all of us. If you, too, feel that desire stirring within you to walk closer with Him, to receive His continuous grace and strength for your own journey, feel free to share that beautiful longing by simply commenting "Amen" below. Let it be a quiet whisper or a joyful shout from your heart, joining with countless others in expressing our collective faith and openness to His abundant love and blessings. It's a small gesture, but it signifies a powerful yes to God's work in our lives. Interestingly, this deepening spiritual awareness, this closeness cultivated through prayer and surrender, often brings with a heightened sensitivity to the spiritual realities around us. Jonathan noted experiencing more escalated levels of spiritual resistance or warfare the longer he inhabited the role. This isn't necessarily a negative sign. Often, resistance increases when one is drawing nearer to the light. It's a reminder of the ongoing spiritual nature of our existence. Yet, this heightened awareness wasn't just about internal feelings or subtle resistance. The echoes of such a profound engagement with the divine, portraying the very Son of God, sometimes resonate outwards in astonishing ways, mirroring the intense, even physically dangerous experiences of others who have walked similar paths, hinting at moments where the veil between the physical and spiritual seems breathtakingly thin. The deepening internal journey of faith, marked by prayer and surrender, sometimes found astonishing resonance in the external world. The profound spiritual intensity inherent in portraying Christ didn't always remain confined to subtle feelings or internal struggles. Occasionally, it manifested in ways that were dramatic, undeniable, and seemed to echo the very passion being depicted. These moments served not as deterrents, but as powerful, albeit startling, confirmations of the sacred ground being walked, drawing parallels to the experiences of others who had undertaken similar portrayals, most notably Jim Caviezel during the filming of The Passion of the Christ. His experience became a touchstone for understanding the potential cost and depth of stepping into such a role. The stories surrounding Caviezel's ordeal are intense. Struck by lightning while suspended on the cross, suffering a dislocated shoulder, battling pneumonia, enduring physical hardships that pushed him to the brink. The description of the lightning strike itself is harrowing. Storm clouds hanging low, thunder resounding like artillery, the very earth seeming to tremble, onlookers gasping as an otherworldly light surrounded him. Yet, the reflection on these events, both by Caviezel and later by Jonathan Roumie contemplating that story, wasn't primarily one of fear or victimhood. Instead, it was framed through the lens of faith, as a profound, albeit minuscule, participation in Christ's own suffering. It was seen as an offering, a way to connect authentically with the agony being portrayed, understanding that depicting the passion might involve bearing a small echo of it. This theme of divine signs amidst suffering resonated powerfully when a similar, breathtaking event occurred during the filming of The Chosen. As they prepared to film the crucifixion, a scene demanding the utmost reverence and emotional depth, nature itself seemed to respond. A storm gathered, darkening the skies, pregnant with intensity. And then it happened. Lightning, brilliant and sudden, struck the cross erected on set. Not a planned special effect, but a raw, untamed display of natural power intersecting with their sacred work. A profound hush fell over the entire cast and crew. Everyone froze, suspended in a moment of awe and perhaps trepidation. No one spoke. For Jonathan, witnessing this or reflecting on Caviezel's similar experience wasn't about terror. "I'm praying that doesn't happen to me," he might jest, acknowledging the human reaction, but about profound clarity. He later spoke of interpreting such moments as potential supernatural signs. It wasn't proof of punishment, but a powerful, undeniable reminder of the spiritual reality they were engaging with. It underscored that their work wasn't merely crafting a television show. It was venturing into spiritual territory, depicting events that hold cosmic significance. And such territory, while filled with grace and divine presence, also contains resistance and intensity. These dramatic events, like the inexplicable physical symptoms, the recurring heart palpitations during specific scenes that defied medical explanation despite checkups confirming perfect health, could be understood within this framework. Perhaps they were faint echoes of Christ's own agony, perhaps somatic responses to the sheer spiritual weight, but ultimately, they were experiences to be offered up, surrendered to God with unwavering faith, trusting in His purpose even amidst the inexplicable. The response wasn't fear, but quiet, trusting peace. "I'm okay. God bless you." These astonishing moments, these echoes of the passion reverberating through the experiences of those chosen to portray Christ, these flashes of what seemed like divine power or intense spiritual friction, served as profound, almost visceral confirmations of the sacred path being trod. Accepting the suffering, interpreting the signs through the unwavering lens of faith, wasn't meant to be an end in itself. It powerfully solidified the understanding that this entire journey, encompassing both the internal transformations and the external challenges, served a purpose extending far beyond personal experience or the creation of art, a purpose aimed directly at igniting faith, sharing divine love, and bringing the light of the gospel to countless souls watching around the world. Those profound confirmations, the inner transformations, the echoes of the passion, the astonishing signs, all pointed toward a reality far greater than personal experience. They solidified the conviction that the journey, with all its inherent spiritual weight and challenges, was intricately woven into a divine tapestry, serving a purpose aimed at igniting faith and bringing solace to countless hearts around the globe. The difficulties faced weren't meant to discourage or halt the work. Rather, they became the very fuel driving the mission forward, a testament to the truth that light shines brightest precisely when darkness seems to press in. The why behind enduring the pressure, the physical anomalies, and the emotional toll became luminously clear. It was for the souls being touched. The true measure of this mission's success wasn't found in ratings or critical acclaim, but in the quiet, personal transformations happening in homes worldwide. Letters, messages, and heartfelt testimonies poured in, painting a vivid picture of grace in action. Stories of marriages finding healing after years of strife, individuals breaking free from the chains of addiction, prayer lives being reignited with newfound fervor, and people finding solace and a personal connection to Jesus for the very first time. Each story served as a powerful affirmation. Jonathan Roumie saw his role not just as an actor, but as someone entrusted with God-given gifts and talents, called to use them in service of the Lord, actively participating in shedding the radiant light of the gospel in a world often shrouded in shadows. The personal cost, the moments of struggle, found their redemptive meaning when viewed through the lens of this global ripple effect of hope and healing. This impact wasn't accidental. It stemmed from a conscious intention woven into the very fabric of the chosen. The creators aimed not just to produce another religious program, but to craft a high-quality, compelling television show that could stand on its own artistic merits. It represented being part of a growing, vital movement in media, one that dared to be countercultural by prioritizing authentic faith and human connection. The key, however, lay beyond production values. It was a genuine faith, the deep personal investment of the cast and crew in the sacred subject matter, that infused the project with unique power. There's a beautiful understanding at play here. The team brings their very best effort, their human limitations acknowledged, a very myopically human level, as Jonathan once phrased it, offering it up with sincere intention. And then God, in His infinite grace, takes that offering. He breathes His Spirit into it, multiplying its magnitude, amplifying its efficacy, energizing it so that it resonates with hearts and minds on a global scale, far beyond what human effort alone could achieve. This divine multiplication seems to touch upon a universal chord, explaining the show's remarkably wide appeal across diverse cultural, political, and religious spectrums. People who might disagree on many other things find common ground in the portrayal of Jesus and the stories of those whose lives He touched. As Jonathan beautifully articulated, truth is undeniable, and fundamentally, Jesus is for everybody. When people encountered Him, they realized His only agenda was rooted in a simple, profound desire, to spread the love of God everywhere I go to the best of my ability. This sincere intention, coupled with God's amplifying grace, allowed the message to transcend barriers and speak directly to the human heart's longing for love, hope, and connection. Isn't it truly amazing how one story, one portrayal offered with a humble and faithful heart, can ripple outwards and bring so much light and healing into the world? This journey of faith, shared through the chosen, connects us all. If you feel a connection to this mission, if this story resonates deeply within you and you desire to continue receiving messages of hope, faith, and encouragement like this one simple yet powerful way you can help share this light is by giving this video a like. It helps others find it. And if you haven't yet joined our community, please consider subscribing to the channel. Becoming a subscriber means you're part of this growing family, journeying together and supporting the effort to bring these stories of divine love to even more people who need to hear them. Your presence and support truly make a difference. This incredible global impact, this undeniable wave of healing and renewed faith washing over millions, stands as a powerful testament to the beauty that unfolds when individuals say yes to a divine calling, remaining faithful even when confronted by profound challenges. But beyond the statistics and the external success, what does it truly mean, day in and day out, to be the individual vessel through which such extraordinary grace flows? To navigate that delicate space of feeling simultaneously broken down by the weight of the task, yet miraculously used for something exquisitely beautiful? The final reflections on this journey delve into the very heart of the mission, revealing the nature of being a willing vessel and the enduring source from which all strength and perseverance ultimately springs. To be a vessel for something sacred, something beautiful and transformative that touches millions, while simultaneously navigating the internal landscape of human frailty and spiritual intensity. This lies at the very heart of such a profound calling. It's a journey that demands more than talent or skill. It requires a continuous act of surrender, a willingness to be emptied so that divine love can flow through. The quiet moments away from the cameras often hold the deepest truth of this reality. Retreating not just to rehearse lines, but to pray, to reconnect with the source, to ask God not necessarily for strength to be a better actor, but for the grace to simply get out of the way. This becomes a core discipline. It's about minimizing the self so that the light of Christ can shine through more clearly, even, perhaps especially, when the soul feels weary and the path seems arduous. There's a paradoxical beauty in recognizing that sometimes the very breaking down process, the confronting of one's own limitations and unworthiness, creates the necessary space for something genuinely holy to emerge. This path undeniably comes with a cost. Portraying Jesus with such authenticity demanded sacrifices. Peace, comfort, perhaps even sleep, were sometimes exchanged for privilege and weight of the mission. But callings often demand such sacrifices. They invite us to step beyond our comfort zones into a space of deeper reliance on God. The spiritual resistance encountered wasn't arbitrary. It often felt like a direct response to the light being shared. As Jonathan and others involved perceived, the enemy rarely wastes his efforts on those who are off course. Intense spiritual friction often arises precisely when you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what God intends for you to do. It's a sign not of failure, but of effectiveness. The fact that darkness pushes back so strongly is a testament to the power of the light being kindled. Thinking back to the lightning striking the cross, perhaps it was, in its own dramatic way, an acknowledgement from both heaven and hell that something of eternal significance was unfolding. And this understanding holds a powerful, universal message for every single person walking their own path of faith. If you are watching this, and you have ever felt that your journey with God seems to be getting harder instead of easier, that drawing closer to Him brings unexpected challenges or resistance, please know you are not alone. It doesn't necessarily mean you've taken a wrong turn. Sometimes, increased spiritual turbulence signifies that you're becoming a greater threat to the darkness precisely because your light, your faith, your love, your commitment is real and growing stronger. It's an invitation to persevere, to lean even more heavily on God's grace, knowing that He equips those He calls. Jonathan Roumie didn't ask for the intensity of the spiritual battle that came with the role, but when arrived, he, supported by faith and prayer, chose to stay in it. He remained committed, allowing his struggles and triumphs to become part of the testimony, so that through portrayal, millions more can encounter the love and reality of Christ. Through all the trials and triumphs, through the challenges and the incredible blessings, one truth remains the unwavering bedrock upon which this entire mission stands: the supreme sovereignty, the unending love, and the ultimate victory of Jesus Christ. He is the reason for the story, the source of strength, and the King whose light overcomes all darkness. If you believe in his power, his victory, his rightful place as the loving King of your heart and the entire universe, we invite you to declare that faith with us. Share it in the comments below by simply writing, "Jesus is the King." Let this be our collective affirmation of faith, hope, and allegiance to him who reigns supreme. This journey of faith, sacrifice, and witnessing God's transformative power is truly ongoing, both for those entrusted with sharing these sacred stories, and for all of us seeking to live lives illuminated by his grace. There are always deeper truths to uncover, more of his love to experience, and more strength to receive for the path ahead. If you feel inspired to continue exploring profound spiritual realities that can shape and uplift your life, we warmly invite you to watch another video we specially selected for you. We believe it carries a message that could be truly revealing and encouraging for your personal journey. Simply click on the video that is appearing on your screen right now to continue exploring. Thank you for walking this path with us, for opening your heart, and for being part of this incredible legacy of faith. May God bless you abundantly.